In the last example, what we looked at was multiplication of unsigned numbers. Now let's take a look at the addition or subtraction of signed magnitude representation based numbers. So remember that we are in the domain of signed magnitude numbers. So this slide talks about signed magnitude numbers and how we are going to be able to add or subtract signed magnitude numbers. Remember that in signed magnitude representation, the first digit corresponds to the sign of that number and the remaining digits correspond to the magnitude of the number. This is as opposed to sign 2's complement representation, where the representation is slightly different. Currently we are looking at signed magnitude numbers. Okay, so here this table kind of summarizes a lot of things for you. What this table is showing you is that what are the operations that you can perform. For example, there are two operands available to you. So between the two operands, either you can perform addition or you can perform subtraction. Similarly, this table is also showing you what are the possibilities of the operands. For example, this is saying that operand A is positive, operand B is also positive. Here it is saying that operand A is positive but operand B is negative. Here it is saying that operand A is negative, operand B is positive. Here it is saying that operand A is positive, I am doing a subtraction, and operand B is negative. So for all these combinations of operation and combinations of either the operand being positive or negative, okay, it is summarizing how you are going to interpret the operations. So for example, it is saying that if A and B both are positive and you are adding them up, then our operation is as simple as saying that I am simply going to add A and B, and then for sure the final answer is going to have a positive sign or a positive equivalent sign digit, which is going to be a 0, because 0 stands for a positive answer and 1 stands for a negative number. Similarly, here it is saying that if I have to do A plus minus B, then I have to go into this process, that I have to check if A is greater than B. For this process, if A is greater than B, then I can simply convert this into simply doing A minus B. So this is saying that the magnitudes can be simply subtracted and the sign of the final answer is shown over here. Similarly, for this operation, if A is less than B, then what we will do is we will take the magnitude of B and subtract the magnitude of A from it, because here B is greater than A, and whatever is the answer in front of that, we are going to artificially put a negative sign. So here this process is actually telling you that are you supposed to subtract the magnitudes and put a sign in front of it? Are you supposed to subtract the magnitudes and put a sign in front of it, and so on? So this table, this portion of the table, okay, this portion of the table is telling you what should you do with the magnitudes and what is going to be the final sign of your answer. Okay, so we are playing around with only the magnitudes, and the final answers sign we are going to determine artificially based on this table. So we are just going to select the final answers sign by a process. Okay, either we are supposed to add or subtract will be based on this particular chart. Similarly, let's look at this example. So here it is saying I have to do minus A minus B. Okay, now if A is greater than B, which means the magnitude of A is greater than magnitude of B, then obviously I am going to simply take the magnitude of A and subtract the magnitude of B, and whatever is my answer in front of that, the sign digit I am going to put to be a 1, so that it denotes the negative answer. Similarly, if the magnitude of B is greater than magnitude of A, then I am simply going to do magnitude of B minus magnitude of A, and whatever is the answer in front of that, I am going to artificially choose the final answer sign, which is a plus sign, meaning I will put a 0 for the answer's sign representation digit, which is the first MSB digit, and that I will put as a 0. Here obviously the MSB digit for the final answer I am going to put as a 0. Here I am going to subtract the magnitude of B from the magnitude of A, and so on. So that is the meaning of this table. Now if we think about it, how do we know that a particular operand is plus or a particular operand is minus? We can simply observe the MSB digit of A. Similarly, how do I know if my operand B is plus or minus? I can simply observe the MSB digit of B. Similarly, how do I know if I have to subtract or add? That obviously will be told to us by some form of an opcode, an operation code, which will tell us if we are going to subtract or add two signed magnitude numbers. Now based on the sign of A and B, and based on the comparisons of the magnitude of A and B, so there are three options: the magnitude of A is greater than B, magnitude of A is less than magnitude of B, and magnitude of A is equal to magnitude of B. So based on this, and based on the sign of the two numbers or operands, and based on the opcode, based on the operation code, we have to take the decision for the following three things. We have to figure out the sign of the final answer, which means we have to figure out this portion. What is the sign of the final answer? What is the sign, this particular thing, of the final answer? We have to also figure out that are we supposed to do addition versus subtraction. For example, here for this we have to do addition, for this one we are supposed to do subtraction. So we have to choose either we are going to add or subtract, and also we have to choose either we are doing A minus B, or sometimes we are going to do B minus A, which means if I have to do A minus B in the ALU versus doing B minus A, then for this process obviously I will have to swap my operands, which means wherever A is entering, instead of A I have to make sure B is entering, and wherever B is entering I have to make sure A is entering. So based on the sign of A and B, based on the operation code, and based on the comparisons, I have to take these three decisions. The decisions related to the sign of the final answer, the decision related to which operation has to be performed, either addition or subtraction, and the decision that do we have to swap our operands, which means do we have to do A minus B or do we have to do B minus A.